Good afternoon, Steel City. Welcome to the Yinzer Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all other sports. On today's show, we begin the hunt for a 7th Lombardi Trophy for the Black and Gold as the upcoming 2024 NFL Draft will hopefully land those special players for that 7th Lombardi Trophy. Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin hold a pre-draft press conference, and in one of Mike Tomlin's great Tomlinisms, he says, "We don't feel overly thirsty in any particular area." It was all fun and games at the press conference. The draft is week 1 to the 2024 NFL season. Here we go, Steelers! The Pittsburgh Pirates get their deck swept in back-to-back series versus the New York Mets and the Boston Red Sox, but come away with a win last night. Manager Derek Shelton under some scrutiny for a so-called pattern and embarrassing baseball being played. Yikes! The Pittsburgh Penguins season comes to an end after a tremendous surge to make the 2024 playoffs. This will be the second year in a row no NHL playoffs in our new igloo. I have some comments from GM Kyle Dubas on the Penguins. All this coming up on the Yinzer Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go! Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Yinzer Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. My name is Ralph Calise, and I'm the host of the Yinzer Report. And I'd just like to start off coming up on our 10-year anniversary for IE Sports Radio. IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports, cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports with our shows. Check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame. Yours truly is the 24th member of the IE Sports Radio Hall of Fame. Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast, our IE Sports Radio community forum, and stop by the shop and check out the merch. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio direct feed for all that is sports. And always, thank you for listening. Also, if you appreciate my work and my show, you'll see a support link under the Yinzer Report podcast. If you feel like you want to support my show for $5, you could click that link, and you will show your support for your show, for the show and the fandom of the show for the Yinzer Report. And as always, it's appreciated by me that all my fans out there show me support, and I appreciate it, and thank you. Okay. So yesterday, the Steelers, they had a pre-draft press conference, and a couple of things that came out of it. I checked it out today. I listened to it live, and I came up with some stuff on it. So we'll get into it. The draft is upcoming Thursday, and the Steelers have the 20th pick. I don't know if they're going to stay there, but we'll see what happens. So the Steelers must face reality about roster needs as the NFL draft is coming. The Pittsburgh Steelers aren't concerned with the center position, are excited about their wide receivers group, and hopefully about their depth at cornerback. The Steelers' top decision makers, Coach Mike Tomlin and General Manager Omar Khan, spent 30 minutes inside the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex on Monday ahead of this week's NFL draft, painting a picture that everything on their roster was swell and dandy before they go on the clock with the 20th pick in Thursday's first round. Mike Tomlin, we've addressed a lot of needs, and we don't feel overly thirsty in any particular area. Mike Tomlin with those Tomlinisms, great. They said they tend to think that Tomlin and Khan were way too intelligent to look at that their off-season additions, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Patrick Queen, Dante Johnson, Deshaun Elliott, and a pair of wide receivers, Van Jefferson and Quez Watkins, and conclude that adding players via the draft will be nothing but a luxury. There are two glaring holes on the roster, as we all know, center and wide receiver. And right tackle jumps off the board as a potential first-round pick. The center and receiver markets have pretty much dried up in free agency, but both become major issues if not addressed in the draft. But it was full-on silly season over at the South Side on Monday, which is somewhat of a new development for the Steelers. They were all happy and smiling during the conference. You can't deny that the Steelers need a center, but once again, decision makers notice they have position flexibility already on the roster. So we'll go over what they have on the roster of what they're talking about. You have Nate Herbig, who I've mentioned a million times in prior shows. He has fewer than 60 career snaps at center. James Daniels, who hasn't played there since 2019. Spencer Anderson, a tackle who has played a total of 2 NFL snaps on offense, neither at center and barely played the position in college. And Ryan McCollum, an underrated guy who has 1 career start and 101 snaps in 3 years. They are flexible, but how do you trust them even remotely or want to rely on them? The only guy out of that group I would have any faith in would be Nate Herbig. James Daniels hasn't played there, like it said, and the other 2 guys have rarely even played. They went on to say, we have guys on the roster that have flexibility. Omar Khan said that. So we have option there, but some good players at the position, and we'll see where it shakes out. You can't ignore that the number 2 wide receiver, George Pickens, is Jefferson. He'll be the number 2 right now because they don't have anybody as good to be the second guy to George Pickens. He has 113 career receptions and 24 fewer in 3 of his 4 seasons. The player with the most upside is Calvin Austin III, who has 17 catches in 17 career games, and he caught a touchdown pass in the playoff game versus Buffalo. Rounding out the group are Watkins, Denzel Mims, and Marquez Callaway. Not a wide receiving core that's jumping out at anybody or scaring any NFL teams out there. Tomlin said, I'm comfortable with the trajectory of that room. I don't think he is. Talk all you want about center and right tackle, but the biggest hole that needs to be filled or could destroy the offseason advances that made with the hiring of offensive coordinator Arthur Smith and acquisitions of Wilsons and Fields is at wide receiver. Totally agree with that. Getting a guy alongside Pickens is the biggest need. They at least are interesting options at center. Dan Moore has nearly 50 starts in his 3 years at tackle. At cornerback, Jackson has been there and done that, with Corey Trice Jr. being an interesting wild card. He was the draft pick last year who got hurt in the OTAs. He was having a great camp from what they were saying. So he's on his way back this year. Nothing is interesting about Jefferson, Watkins, Mims, and the Callaway group. We don't know about Austin, and he could be the wild card if in all of his, but the Steelers don't come out of this draft with a quality receivers. And when I say quality, I mean within the first 51 picks or a veteran acquired via trade, they're asking for big problems. Pickens, yes, is a dynamic player, who is only going to get better. But we've seen it before when Deontay Johnson went down last year. He was out for a month. Teams weren't shy about doubling Pickens to take him out of the game. In turn, it actually frustrated Pickens, which became a problem throughout the season. If Pickens is lined up along with Jefferson and Austin, what do you think is going to happen? The passing game will struggle, of course. The offense will struggle. The run game will struggle. And no matter who the coordinator or quarterback is, the points aren't going to be there. Sure, that's a total speculation at this point, but water always finds its level. Jefferson, Watkins, and the others are what they are. They are full of sudden going to become all-pro receivers. The Steelers know that and will address the position in the draft, in my opinion. But it sure sounded Monday like that might happen later rather than sooner in the process. Tomlin said guys come in ready-made. There's a lot of talent available to us, and a lot of those guys will participate. If you look at the kid from the Rams, Puka Nacua, was significant last year, and I think maybe he was a fifth-round pick. That's what's going on at that position, so it makes us all comfortable, not just us, but as a collective, the National Football League. The competition, it's important to us, Khan said after Tomlin spoke, and any chance there's an opportunity to upgrade the room, we're going to look into it, but it's a good receiver group, so we're optimistic about the opportunities. Khan has brought a lot to the organization in nearly 2 years as general manager. He put people in place like Andy Weddle to handle the scouting part of the draft and has found ways to pull off trades that normally don't seem possible. And for the sake of the organization, it makes sense to head into the draft with the message that everything is fine with the roster as it stands, as long as it's nothing more than like a smokescreen that will somehow land the team a ready-to-play receiver. Yeah, I agree with that. That's what this all is. This is a smokescreen. The Steelers, they don't mess around during draft time. We've seen it in past years, and I've mentioned it in other shows. They're added it when they have 6 picks. If they have 6, 3 always stick. If they have 7, 4 always stick. So the scouting, like Khan just said, is top notch. Tomlin's at all the pro days, and I'm not worried about that. They'll do the right thing, looking for a wide receiver. They might trade for someone. They might still sign someone. There's still people out there. So, Khan started the pre-draft press conference excited about the 20th pick. Tomlin said he was excited as well, especially after all the off-season signings. Khan says he sees a lot of players moving around before the draft. What he meant by that is everybody out there is throwing out a mock draft, and he was saying yesterday those guys don't stay in those spots. They move around anywhere from 10 to 20 times. So that's what he meant by moving around before the draft. Tomlin said the top 30 draft picks were great to evaluate at pro days and combines, and he always loves the opportunity for all, especially when they have them visit with the team. Khan's best player available said, we like to take the best player available at a need position. Tomlin countered that by saying, we mock for ourselves and take the best player available at our pick. So they have 20. They're going to go for the best player available. It's going to be O-line. It's going to be wide receiver. It's going to be cornerback. We'll get into that in a little bit. He said, he stressed the word best. So that was the press conference. It seems like they were having fun and games with the reporters. They were very happy. They were very confident. They were smiling after everybody's questions. So far everything's happy there at the draft room in Pittsburgh. All right, so now let's get into who they might draft. So will they trade up to solidify the offensive line? I believe the offensive line players in this draft they're all ready-made starters. So if you get one of those top 5 or 6 guys that are out there, I see them starting immediately. Like everybody knows, the Steelers dropped Broderick Jones last year. He didn't start right away, but it wasn't long before he started. I think any one of these guys that get drafted will slide right into a spot for any team. So who are the Steelers going to take in the first round? That's the question we all have heading into draft week. Well, the final answer could range anywhere from Oregon center Jackson Power Johnson to Iowa cornerback Cooper DeJean to Georgia tackle Amarius Mims, who a lot of people have on their boards, their mock drafts for the Steelers. The reality is only one knows who right now is the draft board itself. That's Omar Khan saying people are moving around. The Steelers spent the past couple of months scouting hundreds of players at the Senior Bowl, the NFL Combine, and Pro Days, and then inviting them to the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex for one of 30 office visits to be able to whittle down a draft class to a handful of prospects who would fit into the organization when they're on the clock at number 20. The Steelers could move up. They could stay put. They could trade back. They could move the pick for a player. They could take a lineman, receiver, cornerback, or center. The Steelers have identified a handful of scenarios and just as many players they'd love to add. It's going to be a matter of who's available and what the board presents. It may not be the sexy answer, but the first round of the draft, which will then have a trickle-down effect of the rest of it, will determine by how the board breaks. With needs in mind, the players still around, and recent history of how Pittsburgh tends to draft, the draft may look like something like this come Thursday and after. So, you go to the first round. We have the 20th pick. I do not see if one of those 5 or 6 offensive linemen we're talking about are there. I don't see the Steelers passing on an offensive lineman. They need someone to solidify the side that Broderick Jones they put. They got to get Broderick Jones back to his side. So one of these guys will definitely do that. You have names out there like J.C. Latham from Alabama, but I believe they might have to trade up to get him. You have the offensive guy just mentioned, Amarius Mims. There is Talise Fauga. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but he's out there. I mean, like I said, they're called the Latham is called a Trench King. That's his nickname, and I think all of these guys are Trench Kings. So it's offensive line. Could it be a center? Could the aforementioned Graham Barton I mentioned last week drop to us? That would be a good pick because he's listed as an offensive lineman, and his major position will be center. Or will they shock us and pick a wide receiver? But I believe all the top-notch wide receivers are going to be gone, again, unless they trade up. I think, like it was said in the beginning, within the first 51 picks, they're going to draft a wide receiver. They have to. Unless they have something planned where they're going to make a trade or they have somebody they like that they know of that they're going to draft. They need somebody to be on the other side of Pickens, and it's got to be a Deontay Johnson type because you saw how good they were when they played together last year. So round 2 they have the 51st pick, and a lot of the mock drafts have them taking a wide receiver. So who knows? We'll see if they can get somebody there. Names mentioned in the second round for them for a wide receiver are Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky. There's Roman Wilson from Michigan. They even mentioned the quarterback from Rutgers, Max Melton. We'll see what happens there. It's the second pick. These 2 picks are going to be very important. So I don't get the the laughing and giggling at the press conference yesterday. These are needs for this team right now, and yeah, we could live off the off-season signings, but we definitely need a wide receiver and an offensive lineman or a center. So I look in the first 2 rounds to solidify 2 of those 3 positions. And like I said, I don't worry about how the Steelers draft because the players they pick, they normally stick. So then you have round 3, they have pick number 84. This round here, they have listed on their charts maybe a cornerback. Don't forget, we used the 32nd overall pick on Joey Porter Jr. last year. This kid's going to be a star, so he's got that spot locked up. They traded for Dante Johnson in the offseason. Beyond that, it's pretty barren. There's been talk of possibly about bringing back Patrick Peterson, but like I mentioned, they do have Corey Trice Jr., who's coming back from the injury, and we'll see how that goes. Hopefully he could step in and fill a spot that they need to be filled at cornerback. Or they may have somebody in mind here for wide receiver again. There's a guy out there. I watched a podcast today. It was all about the Steelers. They were mentioning Landon McCaffrey, and they showed the highlights of this guy. He looked like a bull. He's Christian McCaffrey's brother. So that would be an exciting piece for the wide receiving core. So after the 3rd round, I put down notes the Steelers will be looking for fits in their sub-package defenses, guys who could play over the tackle. They will try to go for what they think the players they have scouted at this point. Of course, they're going to have NFL starting potential as a 3 technique and a 4-man front. So that's the defensive line. Cam Hayward's getting up in there in years, and they have 2 new guys that they drafted. Benton is 1, and the other side, they signed a couple of guys in the offseason. So there's still years on the defensive line, but hey, you can never have enough defensive linemen. That's a rough position. Later rounds than that, they again could look for a safety or a cornerback to start out as a good special teams player. I just saw the other day that they lost Miles Boykin. He was their top special teams player last year. He was down the field on every play, and he led the team in tackles on special teams. So he's gone. So somebody's got to step up in that position. The Steelers scouts they had a thing about the Steelers scouts, and it said this: Steelers scouts look for players who are on the field, as they call it, played snaps, meaning abundance of playing time on the field. Now, what they were saying was that over 400 to 600 snaps and plays. I mean, that's a college player doing that. Yeah, that's a lot. I also saw something where don't count out maybe quarterback in the later rounds, because don't forget Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are on 1-year contracts. The Steelers have, I think Khan said till May. I think he said May 2nd to offer an extension to Justin Fields. So, I mean, I don't see them letting Justin Fields go, but yeah, they'll go into training camp with 4 quarterbacks, and we'll see what happens with that. So the draft is coming. Very excited about it. It's Thursday night. It's always fun. I believe like mock drafts are very hard because, like I mentioned in the beginning, when Omar Khan said the players change. They change week by week coming up to the draft, and even on the day of the draft with the trades that are going to happen. But I did hear an interesting take that if the top quarterbacks all go in the first 5 and 6 picks, oh boy, that's going to blow the draft up because you're going to get somebody dropped to you that's going to fill a need position like the Steelers need. So that's what I'm hoping, and we'll see what happens with that. All right, so that's it for the draft. We'll see what happens. Oh, I see the chat is up. All right, so I put up there, good afternoon, the Yinzer Report is live. Let's go. Who's in the chat today? Jen B. Have a great show. Thank you, Jen B. Patricia. Hi, Ralph. Working but listening. Have a great show. Patricia, I appreciate all your support. You're always listening at work. Just don't get in trouble. I'm not worth that much. Larry B. What's up, Ralph? My man, Larry B. I got your drops coming up, buddy. That was a great show the other day with Mike Pat. Oh, I loved it. I was at dinner listening to when you did the Steelers pick. I loved it. The Trench King. Hopefully we get him. All right. Let me hit this sponsor for you, and then I'm going to take a break, and we'll come back and talk about the Pirates situation. This is Planet Jerky Premium Biscuit. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm Single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This old brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, low in sugar, and high in protein. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on another planet. Find it on Instagram at Planet Jerky. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'll be back, and we'll get into this pirate mess. This is the Yinzer Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, Cleveland and Columbus sports fans, this is Jen D, host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Green team, set, hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Wow. Welcome back. This is the Yinzer Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. That drop a special meaning to me. That's how I was found on IE Sports Radio by Larry B. I just want to thank him again. He had me on his shows for 3 and Out, 8 divisions in 8 days. And I did 2 shows with him with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I got to try to go find them and re-listen to them, man. We had a great time. But, yeah, little note on myself with IE Sports Radio. That's how Larry B found me to do this Pittsburgh podcast for the station. But I get chills every time I hear that drop. And he had a great show with Mike Pat this past weekend on the draft. They were a good team. They were a good team. I would like to say hello to Cal in the draft. He said mock drafts are 90% wrong. Every draft board every year is different. 32 owners, 32 different, 32 roster. Yes, Cal, you're 100% correct. I agree with that. And I don't know if you heard at the beginning, basically that's what Omar Khan was saying in the pre-draft press conference. The players change every week, and as it gets closer every day, you picking mock drafts, you gotta have ESP to do those things. But it's a fun thing. To me, it's the beginning of the NFL season, and it's like week 1, like I said at the beginning. All right, let's do this sponsor. This is Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch. Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when you receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. That can be found on Instagram at SealTheDeal_wax stamps and Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Good luck with that, Cecilia. Okay, let's get into this Pirate mess. Little baseball for you on draft week. So the Pirates are coming off a 6-game losing streak. They picked up a win last night to snap the 6-game losing streak against Milwaukee. They won 4-2. 4-2. And Jared Jones, the Pirates' young stud pitcher, started the game last night. And there was a situation with him last week versus the Mets that we're going to get into. So it's been coming out of Pittsburgh. The 6-game losing streak, the talk in Pittsburgh has been that it was embarrassing baseball. Man, you don't hear those words together too often. Embarrassing baseball. And the embarrassment is beginning with the manager Derek Shelton. Oh boy, that's a bad sign. He did say after the game versus Boston on Sunday when they lost, it was an embarrassing fundamental showing, both in the field and on the base paths. Yeah, it's not even worth talking about. Just go watch the highlights to that and you'll understand why he said that. There also have been rumblings of hitters taking a pathetic passive path with their plate appearances. Now, this is the one where the principal goal to run on up the opposing starter's pitch count over, actual hitting. The one where the players become so comfortable keeping the bat on their shoulder that when the opportunity arises to drive in a run, they're stuck in default mode and watch third strikes right down the pipe. This is baseball. I mean, if I was a Major League Baseball hitter, I would never go down looking. I would swing the bat, just three strikes if I had to. Also irrelevant. This is not as if Shelton's any exception to any of this. The brutal fielding and base running have reflected directly on him. And remember, he's a former big league hitting coach. And it's not if he's making a difference in that category either. Brian Reynolds, the Pirates' star hitter, described the collective offensive struggle this way. Maybe not aggressive enough, maybe a little passive. Have to capitalize with runners in scoring position, just the things that lead to winning. Wow. Imagine hearing that from the team's best player and not immediately tearing up the coach's room and clubhouse to find out how or why that's occurring, but rather protecting a manager and hitting coach with some vague speaking stance. That's some hardcore stuff out there in Pittsburgh, man. Wow. Last week, okay, this is the Jared Jones thing sound. Last week, also versus the Mets, was the game with Jared Jones pitching 5 innings, breezing through the Mets lineup with 7 strikeouts on 59 pitches, and he was taken out of the game. Now, I was actually texting with Ricky K from New York Sports State of Mind. Man, that guy's been busy the past couple of days. Check his stuff out. And we were like, he's asking me what's going on, and I had no clue. And he was like, well, if they're going to do that, why don't he just, pitch in the minors? 59. This guy was throwing a one-hitter in the 5th inning with a 1-0 lead. The Mets had no chance to hit him. And they took him out of the game, and they wound up losing the game. So, 59 pitches, he's taken out. Manager Derek Shelton cited it as a pattern for young Pirates pitching. What? The GM, Ben Cherington, chimed in with his valued speaking, because that seems to be the term in Pittsburgh Pirates baseball there. He said, so it was not enough that Jones was pulled from an amazing start in New York after 5 innings and just 59 pitches, which had 0 in common with any pattern, there's that word again, pattern, over his entire professional career. So he never had a pattern. No, it's far worse than that. Charrington appeared to roll Shelton, his manager, under the bus for making this move. He goes, I really respect their decision, Charrington would say of the coaching staff, to have some perspective that this is a long war that we're fighting in 2024. My question to that response is, there? Who? What? Oh my God. What's going on? Back in New York, Shelton answered questions about Jones pitching on a 5th day after previous start this way. It was predetermined he was throwing on 5, and we had a pitch count on him for today. It's his first time on 5. I mean, this guy's one of our really good young pitchers, as he demonstrated today. We know going into that game, it was going to be 5. My God. What he's saying is they had him on a 5-inning pitch, whatever you want to call it, pitch count, innings pitch, just for this game. And it's called a pattern. I mean, it's nuts. So, okay, so that's the reason why the Pirates lost that game, because Jones could only go 5 innings. Well, this podcast agrees Shelton signed the dotted line for that loss. For sure, it was on him. Embarrassing. So, after all this, now, the Pirates have a number 1 pitching stud in the minors. His name is Paul Skeens, and he's down in AAA. And after you hear what I tell you about this guy compared to the pattern, oh my God. Paul Skeens pitched. Again, Paul Skeens is their prize position in AAA Indianapolis. He pitched a game, maybe a padding game like Shelton was saying about Jones, but the player Paul Skeens is waiting for his call-up, saying he's trying to do whatever he needs to do. He's been shutting down AAA hitters 3 or so innings at a time. So this guy's in the minors only throwing three innings or more. So in all, Skeens has only allowed 5 hits and 4 walks in 12 2/3 scoreless innings. He struck out, are you ready for this? 27 strikeouts in 12 2/3 innings. He struck out 57.4 of the batters he's faced, which just sounds hilarious. Opposing hitters slashing in those games 116, 192, and 140 averages against him. That's good enough for a .332 OPS. Not many people getting on base. Skeens doesn't know the plan for the Pirates organization to ramp him up to higher pitch counts, and he has no idea what plan is possible for a promotion. There's that plan again. The plan is, Mr. Skeens, you're going to be in the minors for a little bit because you ain't coming to the majors and throwing just like that for 3 innings. I'm saying it's interesting thinking that this is a manager's Selton Patter plan in the minors. He must be on the same page as the manager in Indianapolis in AAA. So here's Ben Cherington again. He offered up the following on it. With Paul, we've been very intentional about how we're building his volume coming into the season with the goal of really accomplishing 2 things. Cherington said one is to try to get him appropriate total volume for 2024 coming off last year, where he pitched a full college season and just a little bit of pro ball. We don't want to go from 0 to 100 right away. Paul's so important to us long term, so we want to be really thoughtful about that. Man, you want to be thoughtful, you want to win games. You got to get this guy up in the majors. It certainly feels like he's getting closer. Perhaps they'll allow him to go another 10 pitches next time out to get to 75, and then an MLB debut with the Pirates might not be too far away. Now, if you remember, I made a prediction at the beginning of the season that he was going to be up by June. So where are we now? We're at the end of April. We still got so we still got like another month and a couple of games. So we'll see what happens with that. It certainly feels like he's getting closer. Perhaps they'll allow him to go another 10 pitches next time out to get to 75, and then an MLB debut with the Pirates might not be too far away. Okay, I mentioned that. The Pirates have shown some competitiveness here early going in 2024, sitting at 12-11. They did have the best record in baseball to start the season before that 6-game losing streak, but it got embarrassing. It's too early to watch the standings, but Skeens has been following along with the big league club. Given that they look like they can hang around in the race for a while, it seems unlikely the Pirates will bring Skeens up only to pull him after something like 3 innings, which would unnecessarily stress their bullpen during what they hope is a full season of contention. If he's up, he should be on the mound as long as possible. Agreed. Maybe the magic number to unlock a promotion is 75 pitches. Maybe it's 100. Eventually the Pirates will call his name and let him strut his stuff at the MLB show. Despite his dominance, Skeens is still sitting in AAA waiting while the Pirates keep the training wheels on his incredibly talented right arm, calling it workload management. More like a pattern. Take note of the 12 2/3 innings in his 4 starts. Here are the innings and total pitch counts by start as the Pirates slow play him. 3 innings, 46 pitches. 3 innings, 44 pitches. 3 3/3 innings, 55 pitches. 3 3/3 innings, 65 pitches. So he went up innings-wise, and as he went up innings-wise, was really only a third of an inning. He went up 10 to 15 pitches. He's going to be part of that pattern plan for sure if he gets called up. He might pitch 2 innings. Now look at these numbers and realize Skeens still hasn't even allowed a run. With this level of dominance here at AAA, surely Skeens is unhappy every time he hears that he has come to a game out of early. I'm sure Jared Jones felt that way last week. Yeah, for sure, he said. But also we're at in season right now, is what Paul Skeens said about all of it. But if you could picture it, he would be pitching alongside veteran Mitch Keller and the promising youngster, as we mentioned, Jared Jones. Skeens will eventually give the Pirates a really nice 1-2-3 punch in the rotation, possibly even looking like three aces in a playoff rotation sometime very soon. Maybe even as soon as this year, even if there's no hurry. Skeens 21, Jones is 22, and Keller is 28, but is locked up till 2028. For now, Skeens is making silly putty of AAA hitters while gradually building volume. He's just one step away from his goal of being a major leaguer. So I brought all this up on Paul Skeens because, to me, it seems like he has a pattern that Skelton was talking about in the minors. And, I mean, Jared Jones, I'm going to give you a couple of his stats. Right now with Skeens, it's better off if he goes through this, and I'll call it a pattern in AAA, because if he gets called up and the Pirates put him through a possible pattern like Jared Jones just went through, the losses will pile up and his talent will be a wash, and who knows what type of mental state of mind he has. He might see all the losses gathering up, and who knows. So here's some stats that I Googled up today on Jared Jones. He has 7+ strikeouts recorded in each of his first 5 games of his career. He is the only Pirate pitcher to debut since 1993, when the current mound distance was established in that manner. He began his career with 3 straight appearances, like I said, with 7+ strikeouts. He also had the most strikeouts by a Pirate in his big league debut with 10. And that was versus Miami on March 30th. That's the game I attended. And remember, he was in the 5th inning. He had a no-hitter. Thank God there was no plan for that game. But yeah, they got a hit. I think they got a hit with 2 outs in the 5th inning. So he actually went 5 2/3 before he gave up a hit. Another great stat is yesterday. That game, he threw the 59 pitches. He threw 50 of 59 pitches, which is an 84.7% strike rate in the 5 scoreless innings in his last start Tuesday against the Mets. Since pitch date started being kept in 2000, no major league pitcher has ever thrown 60 or fewer pitches in a game and thrown 50 or more strikes. Since 2000, only 5 other pitchers threw 50 or more pitches in a game, with 84% or more being strikes. Prior to Jones, the latest pitcher to accomplish was Kevin Guzman on May 30th in 2021. That's insane. Also, before last night, he had 2 walks in last night's game. I'm not sure how many innings he went before he gave up a walk, but he did have an active streak of 17 1/3 innings without allowing a walk, dating back to the final inning of his major league debut, again on March 30th at Miami, the game I attended. That's the longest streak by a Pirates pitcher in his 4-year career since Gerrit Cole had an 18-inning streak to open his career in 2013. So, very interesting. Guys, can you hear me out there? Larry B, you said, are you muted, Ralph? You're on. Oh, okay, you can hear me. Thanks, Larry. So Jared Jones last night, he earned the victory. He was 2-2. He's 2-2 now after the victory last night, and he did go 6 innings and threw 91 pitches. So I looked up his pattern, and every game he's pitched after the Miami game on March 30th, it was 6 days. The only time was that 5 days in between the Phillies and the Mets. So pattern that Skelton was talking about. I don't know if we did that on his own, if that was a team thing, but I think he did it on his own from what I've been researching here. So the Pirates, they had a 6-game losing streak. They lost 3 at the Mets, and then they lost 3 at home to the Pirates. Getting back to Jones, he allowed 1 run, 4 hits, 2 walks over 6 innings. He struck out 7. So again, that's 7 plus strikeouts in his first 5 career starts. Jones continued the impressive start to his career Monday night. He struck out 7 Brewers by generating an astounding 25 whiffs. That means 25 swings and misses. The 22-year-old rookie has been electric to start the season, talking a 2.7 ERA with a 0.83 whip and a 38.4 Ks, and to walk ratio over 29 innings. The only question about Jones at this point appears to be how many innings the Pirates will let him throw this year. His next start is scheduled on the road against the Giants. Well, I saw this note on CBS Sports. Maybe if they listen to my podcast, they could learn about the pattern, as they wrote there, how many innings the Pirates will let him throw this year. I'm into this pattern thing. The Pittsburgh Pirates, you gotta love it. Don't forget, last year they started out 20-9 and they went into the tank. I mentioned that at the beginning of the preview when we went over the season. And this year they were 9-2 and now they're 12-11. So that's what's going on in Pirate World. Hopefully that gets straightened out. Derek Shelton's got to pick it up a little bit. Wow, time is going by fast here. Larry B, thank you, sir. Thanks for joining the podcast today. All right, I was going to read some comments from GM Kyle Dubas about the Penguins. Their season came to an abrupt end last week. They had their game Wednesday night, meant nothing against the Islanders, and they got eliminated from the playoffs before that. So they finished the season again with no playoffs. And Kyle Dubas came out the other day, and I had some notes on some things that he said. Kind of misplaced them, but I'll try to remember off the top of my head what he said. He was not blaming Coach Mike Sullivan for any of it. He believes that the core that they have is still very much a playoff type group. He did say they might add a new goalie into the mix. They have a guy in the minors. I think his name is Blomqvist. He had a phenomenal year in the minors, so he might get a crack at the starting spot. And the main thing he did say is that they have to get faster. I don't know if anybody's following the NHL playoffs, but they're going good right now. And right now, he was comparing them to saying he wants the team to be fast, like the Carolina Hurricanes. And I don't know if anybody saw the game last night versus the New York Islanders. They were fast, and they were down 3-0, and they came back, and they scored 5 unanswered goals. And they had over, I think it was like between shots, attempts, and shots towards the net, I think it's called, is the stat, over 110 of them. Oh, my God. The poor Islanders, they were winning 3-0. I don't think they know what hit them. I think they're done for that series. So, basically, he was saying that, and man, it's gonna feel so weird. It feels weird already. I mean, the playoffs are here, and there's no playoffs in Pittsburgh. Any sport, there's no playoffs in Pittsburgh. It sucks. You know me, guys. I breed black and gold. All right. Well, that's it for today. I'm going to hit my music. I'm going to sign off. Everybody in the chat, thanks for joining in. Jen B, of course. Larry B, the man, the creator. And Cal and Patricia. Yeah, you guys were great today. Thank you for joining. Don't forget, today is Tuesday. And today is the great day on IE Sports Radio. We have 5 other shows coming up after the Yinzer Report. And I'll give them to you in a second. This is the Yinzer Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a good night. We'll talk to you next week. All right, so here we go. Here's the lineup for the rest of the day. You got Gen B coming up with the show of the land at 6 p.m., 3 p.m. Pacific time. That's the Cleveland Sports Show. You got the Buffalo Honey with Patty B. Patty B's at work. Hopefully she's not listening in and getting in trouble. Thanks for tuning in, though. She's on at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. You got the Philly Sports Talk with Chris and Bobby at 8 o'clock, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to have a lot to say about the Sixers, I believe. The Neutral Zone is at 9 p.m., 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central Time with Adam and Zach. I believe they're doing a StreamYard broadcast today. Good luck with that, guys. And to finish it off, my man Cal with Sin City Sports at 10 p.m., 7 p. Eastern Time. Check out my man Cal. He's got a great show. That's Vegas, baby. You can't go wrong in Vegas. All right, guys. Thanks for joining in. This is the Yinzer Report. IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport. Let's go. Good night.